Anyone who spent time in Night City knows this scene. Step out of Mega Building 10 and the food stalls are right there, glowing like beacons. Yakitori pops and crackles on steel grates. A few steps away you'll find hot dogs and hamburgers. If you take a walk to Kabuki Market, a few hundred meters away, you'll find vending machines selling you all types of meats. And right next to these, you'll find people enjoying their meals as you would in any other city. But this shouldn't be happening. All things being equal, Night City should be suffering one of the worst food crises in history. So what happened here exactly? Because in Night City, even if you're just scraping by and are completely broke, you can still afford a meal or a snack without any issues. And once you get your food for the day, when you take a bite, it does taste just like food should. It gives you this feeling, this illusion of abundance. For less than $10 you can get yourself fed. This whole situation begs a massive question that I know a lot of you have thought about. If Cyberpunk lore tells us that there are basically no animals left, and the ground and water supplies are beyond polluted, where's all this stuff coming from? As you move through Night City, you can't help but notice it. The white boxes. Sometimes hidden out of sight, sometimes placed outside with the trash, but always visible close by. If you have the misfortune of being from Night City, then there's really nothing to it. Easy beef is what it is, and scop is what it is. You're used to it. But think about the poor souls who've just moved to the city. Imagine what a shock it must be for them when they taste this stuff.
That's all. And when he outlives his purpose, we'll flatline him.
He's not on his A game, sure. But even without implants, he could decommission us easily.
Where's that come from? Ever seen him in action?
Nah, just no. And the way he walks, the look in his eye.
We'll come back to this later.
What is this?
Hey, yakitori.
The history behind all this is fascinating. By the early 21st century, most traditional food sources in the cyberpunk universe had been wiped out or phased out. The causes were many. Animal epidemics ravaged livestock and wildlife, a crazy situation with the birds, industrial pollution seeping into the ground and in the water, plus decades of reckless monoculture. Between 1990 and 2020, global food scarcity reached an all-time high. A worldwide food crash in 2002 wiped out wheat crops across the globe, triggering massive famine and food riots. In the streets, people resorted to eating whatever they could find, from algae and kelp to protein-rich insects. Anything that could substitute for the meat, fruits and veggies no longer available. In the wake of these catastrophes, the very concept of food was reinvented through technology. Remember, the entire mantra of Cyberpunk is high-tech, low-life. By 2020, most of the average American diet consisted of factory-made synthetic food. Megacorporations stepped in to mass-produce cheap nutrition, and the population survived on things like animal feed. Here I'm strictly referring to kibble. This bland paste provided a full day's worth of calories and vitamins, which was much better and more pleasant than starving to death. Higher grade substitutes soon followed. Scop, correctly known as single-cell organic protein, could be tailored to mimic various flavors and textures, making it more appealing than bland kibble. So a step higher than pet food, if you will. Soya-based products replaced virtually all vegetables and greens in the common diet. Meanwhile, conventional farming shifted focus to producing biofuel instead of food, further reducing natural food supplies. Real fresh food, a crisp salad, a cut of real steak, a glass of cow's milk, became a luxury reserved for the ultra-rich. Statistically, only a small percentage of the population could afford any fresh, organic food. Most natural groundwater was so polluted by mass burials and bioplagues that safe agriculture moved entirely to indoor hydroponic farms. A place like Busan in South Korea, known for its pleasant eateries and less pleasant zombies, had been devastated after the Fourth Corporate War, so you couldn't get any fresh fish or produce from there. The same goes for Hong Kong. North America, once the world's largest food producer, had to import what little fresh produce it could get from Europe, Canada, and other countries. This food would be smuggled into Night City and served at high-end restaurants like Embers and luxury hotels like the Kompeki Plaza. For everyone else, any average civilian, food came in vacuum-sealed packages and nutrient bars, a grim but necessary adaptation to survive. Fast forward to 2077, and feeding the population has become a high-tech, full-scale industrial endeavor. In Night City's dystopian sprawl, synthetic meat and engineered foods are the norm. The term scop has evolved to mean any vat-grown meat substitute, and the most popular and cheapest varieties are bred from worms and insects on vast protein farms. Thanks to advances in food science since the 2020s, these insect-based proteins can be flavored and textured to resemble just about anything. Chicken, beef, even exotic seafood. You can now have it all thanks to the magic of capitalism and corpo incentive packages. The improvements have been so successful that the old kibble pellets have become effectively obsolete in places like Night City, replaced by far more palatable synth steaks at similar low prices. The average person in 2077 still doesn't cook their own meals. Instead, they buy pre-packaged dinners or grab eats from ubiquitous vending machines on every corner. Some even live in a corner with their very own vending machine. Neighborhood chains and street vendors hawk items like sushi rolls, ramen, or XXL burritos, but these are typically assembled from reconstituted soy, algae, and processed protein rather than any fresh ingredients. Even staples like milk and eggs are entirely synthetic lab products by this time. For a few Eurodollars, a hungry citizen can slurp a tube of flavored nutrient paste, for example, All Foods Budget Veggie Delight, or heat up a scop burger dinner from a vending unit and wash it all down with a cold Nicola. On the other end of the spectrum, the wealthiest elites dine on real vegetables, cloned fruits, and actual beef grown in biotechnological facilities, luxuries protected by sky-high prices. But such indulgences are exceedingly rare. For the vast majority, an indulgence might be a pizza topped with fried locusts instead of pepperoni, or a soy protein kebab from a street-side stall. In Cyberpunk 2077's dark future, mankind's daily bread is no longer grown in sunlit fields. It's cultured in vats, extruded from machines, and flavored by chemists. It's a world where dinner is a technological product of necessity, but the citizens of Night City do not let this define them. They resist in whatever way they can.
Taste the love!
Biotechnica's public image is that of a benevolent innovator. They even helped restore some extinct species and forests. But when it comes to profit, this corp will gladly play with human lives. By 2077, Biotechnica controls Night City's food supply chain from lab to table. A little over a decade before the events of 2077, Biotechnica rolled out a patented supercrop called FrostCorn back then. It was a genetically engineered wheat that could grow in nearly any climate. Biotechnica didn't sell FrostCorn seeds to farmers. They licensed them at extortionate rates. Small farmers in North America and beyond, desperate to stay afloat amid a ruined climate, signed on and became indentured to yearly fees. Those who couldn't pay, they had to sell their land to Biotechnica piece by piece. Over time, countless local farms went bankrupt, and Biotechnica swallowed up their acreage. This was economic warfare, and it sparked a backlash. The dispossessed farmers and agricultural entrepreneurs banded together to form a resistance group called Crimson Harvest. At first, they tried to protest peacefully, demanding Biotechnica stop its predatory practices. But Biotechnica wouldn't have it. The Corp allegedly even unleashed a biovirus to sabotage any crops grown from unlicensed seed as punishment for defiance. As the situation got worse, the farmers' fury intensified and Crimson Harvest became more radical. What began as peaceful demonstrations escalated into bombings and bloodshed. The conflict reached a boiling point in a bloody incident at a Biotechnica facility in Paris, a massive attack in 2076 that left not only Biotechnica employees but also ordinary citizens dead. After that, world governments, likely pressured by corporate interests, officially labeled Crimson Harvest a terrorist organization. And to be fair, the group did adopt ruthless tactics by then. A shard from 2077 describes how Crimson Harvest have not only killed Biotechnica workers, but also innocent bystanders. Each new outrage by Biotechnica only poured fuel on the fire. It's a vicious cycle. Corpos abuse people, people snap and strike back, Corpos use the violence to justify even harsher crackdowns. Biotechnica, for its part, doubled down on security and vengeance. Their shadowy internal intelligence agency began hunting Crimson Harvest members worldwide. One such operative, Linda Sherman, tracked a suspect involved in the Paris attack to none other than Night City's Dogtown. There, amid the chaos of 2077, we actually encounter a woman named Nell Springer, a member of Crimson Harvest who got in way over her head. Nell's backstory is a tragic example of Biotechnica's human cost. She and her siblings grew up on a corn farm in Indiana until Biotechnica drove her parents out of business and forced them to sell their land, effectively destroying her family's livelihood. In college, she was recruited by Crimson Harvest. By 2077, however, Nell has grown disillusioned with the carnage and tries to back out. During the events of Phantom Liberty, she hires V to foil an impending Crimson Harvest attack, showing that even among terrorists, there are shades of grey.
My dear V, how would you like to do a good deed? Earn a quick Euro buck over what you usually earn. A piece of hot lead in the gut. A terrorist organization, the Crimson Harvest, plans to detonate a bomb at Biotechnica's HQ in Berlin. I know that because Nell Springer, my client, is one of them. She needs your help foiling the plot. Interested? See the attachment for details.
Waiting for me, I take it.
V?
At your service.
You weren't followed?
Why? Scared the Crimson Harvest might know you're up to no good?
No. Well, I have a feeling. And not a whole lot of time. Did Hans bring you up to speed?
Said you want to turn against your terrorist chooms, sabotage their evil plans, and save the day.
For the love of... We're not terrorists. You got any clue what the Crimson Harvest even stands for? How about putting an end to hunger, starvation?
People starving. Where? 'Cause dumpsters are overflowing with food in Night City.
You city folk don't know shit. You think you're free? That slavery's ancient history? Ought to see how Biotechnica treats farmers. Force them off their land to grow gene-modified wheat. For food, one'd think. Wrong. For Chew-2 that's sold to Petrochem. You like the taste of Chew-2? No? That's what I thought.
The Crimson Harvest. They recruit you, or did you volunteer?
Grew up on a farm like most of my comrades. Corpse boots stamping on our faces. That was our life. Until we realized we could fight back. Crimson Harvest, they're like family. And the things you'll do for family, well, can keep you up at night. Haunt you.
Don't you guys plant bombs? Carry out mass killings?
Our people's hearts are in the right place, but they're blinded by their hatred of corpse. I never thought we'd start killing people. Things they had me do. I was naive.
Probably thought she'd be collecting signatures and making peace protest signs.
Naive. Bit of an understatement, that.
Spare me the judgment. Didn't hire you to pin my biography. Here.
Think we better cut to the chase. What's on the shard?
One thing at a time, okay? The Crimson Harvest purchased a net nuke from Hansen. It's headed for Europe. Specifically, Biotechnica's HQ in Berlin. You'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Your bomb won't cause any good old-fashioned destruction? Thought terrorists like to put on a show.
Take down a building, whoop-de-fucking-do. Biotechnica just builds a new one. What you want is the protein. Human casualties.
So what do I do?
Western part of the stadium used to house a sports therapy center. For Hansen, turned into an arms factory. Entry code's 1701. Memorize it. It's got assembly lines, warehouses, the works. Part you're interested in is an experimental lab in the old pool. It's where they keep the bomb. Find it, upload the program from this shard. A few days from now, when the bomb's detonated in Berlin, it'll neutralize the virus. Stop its spread. When it's done, I'd like that shard back.
Gonna keep it as a souvenir?
Can't be too careful. If the Crimson Harvest ever got their hands on it, I'm toast.
If you think this'll win you Biotechnica's protection against the Crimson Harvest, you got another thing coming.
Maybe naive, but not that naive. Know a thing or two about corps. Know they ain't much different from the Crimson Harvest. Just shut up, follow orders. Same leash, different collar. Maybe I'm doing it for myself. Can't turn back time, but I can still change what happens here, now, the future. Too long I've sat on my ass agonizing over the shit I've done. That ends today. The bomb. You take care of it?
Disarmed. We're in the clear.
Quick, hand me the shard. Gotta make tracks. What the? Shit, the car's hacked! What's going on? Did you sell me out?
Got nothing to do with this.
Mel Stringer, you're under arrest for organizing last year's bombing of a biotechnical lab in Paris.
No. This isn't happening.
Your bomb killed 32 innocent people.
Get now why you didn't want the corporate leash. 'Cause they would have strung you up with it.
I swear on my life, V, I had
Get
no
that
idea
over.
civilians would die.
Step out of the vehicle, hands in the air.
Not giving myself up. Stay here. 4 against 1, huh? Bring it.
He's coming for me.
Stay behind cover.
Still, Biotechnica's response to people like Nell is not compassion. It's to send in agents or hit squads. If you've played Cyberpunk 2077, then you know of the Peter Pan serial killer. Some call him the Meatman too, but his real name is Anthony Harris. In October, for Halloween, I'll make a video game serial killer video where I'll dive deeper into what makes him tick. But as far as this video is concerned, we'll look at him through the lens of food and farming. This killer didn't become a monster in a vacuum. He was another child of a farming family that got chewed up and spit out by the system. Harris grew up on a ranch in the Badlands, raising cattle. First, a cattle plague hit, likely due to the collapsing ecosystem or a bioplague, and decimated their stock. Then a corporation swooped in and took over the farm, leaving his father with nothing. The loss drove Harris's dad into depression and presumably an early grave. The boy was shipped off to foster care and eventually became the infamous Meatman, killer with a seriously warped view of family. His entire thing, as insane as it is, was to find young teenagers who were suffering and ease their pain with medication. I'm of course not saying that's what he did, but in his own mind, this is what he thought he was doing. When people's basic means of survival are ripped away, whether by famine or by corporate greed, it breeds nightmares. And Biotechnica hasn't just tormented farmers, they've done horrible things to nomads as well. In one scandal, a Biotechnica research team used an entire nomad clan as unwitting guinea pigs for a bio-experiment. Around 2076, Dr. Joanne Koch and her colleagues tested a new pathogen, chillingly dubbed Project Nightingale, on the Red Ochre clan, causing a plague that wiped out at least 70 nomads. When an honest Biotechnica employee tried to blow the whistle, the company had her murdered to keep it quiet. The truth eventually leaked, and Biotechnica higher-ups conveniently scapegoated one of the scientists to distance the corporation from the massacre. This is how Biotechnica operates. Human life is just another variable in their experiments. Whether it's a rural family in Indiana or an entire nomad pack, no one is off limits if they stand in the way of progress. It's an uncomfortable reality that despite Biotechnica's evils, Night City literally cannot survive without them. The food economy in Night City is controlled top to bottom by Biotechnica and its subsidiaries, and they know it. The city's millions of residents depend on the cheap calories all foods shovels out. For all the resentment and whispered talk of corpos treating us like cattle, the fact remains that if Biotechnica shut off the protein vats, there'd be mass starvation within days. This cruel imbalance of power allows the corporation to act with impunity. They've essentially got the city by the throat. Sure, there are black market growers, smugglers bringing in real food for the elite, maybe a few rogue nomads raising crops, but those are drops in the bucket. The average scavenger or office rat in Night City has no choice but to buy Biotechnica's synthetic slop. And you better believe Biotechnica cashes in on that desperation. Yet amidst this bleak food chain, the human spirit hasn't completely withered. Walk through the back streets of Kabuki or Japantown, and you'll still see people trying to make the best of what they've got. Under neon signs and flickering hollows, street vendors grill skewers of meat, okay, probably scop, and cook noodles in broth that might be mostly soy and algae. It's not real ramen or real yakitori, but folks treat it like it is. They season it, present it with pride, and savor it with friends and family. Chapter 3. Conclusions. The food economy of Night City is a disturbingly complex web that ties together the fates of Megacorps, citizens, and what passes for government in 2077. On the surface, it looks like a miracle of modern industry. Millions of people fed each day on synthetics that prevent mass famine. But scratch that surface and you find a devil's bargain. Decades of environmental collapse and societal upheaval led to a world where natural food became scarce, and into that void stepped corporations like Biotechnica with factory-grown substitutes. Night City's officials certainly aren't going to say no to the cheap meal packs keeping the slums from open revolt. In fact, we see hints of outright collusion. All Foods was caught bribing city council members to secure permits. When corporations are the main lifeline preventing starvation, they can bend the government to their will with ease. Meanwhile, the citizens of Night City are caught in a trap. On one hand, they're saved by the synthetic food system. The average punk on the street can afford a burrito or a soda for a few Eurodollars, and they don't have to worry about dropping dead from hunger. But that salvation keeps them utterly dependent on the corpus. It's the illusion of choice, of abundance. Nicola Scop dogs, or a large burrito XXL, it's all coming from the same cyberpunk overlords. The poorest citizens, the ones slurping nutrient paste in their mega building hallways, have zero say in the matter. They'll eat what All Foods delivers because there is no alternative. And if they dare complain, the Corps' PR and the complacent authorities will remind everyone that, without us, you'd all starve. This dynamic breeds resentment and despair in equal measure. Some people, like the workers who scrape by and try to find joy in a scented scop burger, just keep their heads down and survive. Others, like the Crimson Harvest militants, decide that if they're going to die anyway, they might as well go down fighting the ones holding the keys to the granary. What makes the food economy especially disturbing is the brutal methods and tactics used to maintain the status quo. The illusion of abundance might exist, but for most folks it's all foods or no food. The food system is a microcosm of the greater cyberpunk world, dazzling technological solutions wrapped around a core of inequality and control. It's a system where the hand that feeds you is also the hand that keeps you down. The elites dine in secret on genuine steaks, vegetables, and real wines, clinking glasses to their own success. Meanwhile, a few miles away, a street kid is buying a can of ziggurat mush because that's the only dinner he can afford. And still, humanity finds ways to preserve culture and solidarity through food.